Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Kryptonian saying here, bringing you guys another discussion for Black Clover. And now that we're in that funky period where there wasn't a Black Clover manga chapter that came out last week, and there won't be one until later on, it's one of those things where it's like chapter 319's here, but we were on such a cliffhanger that we got to talk about this slaughter that's getting ready to happen. I don't know why people are calling this a battle. This is going to be a slaughter. But the slaughter of the Magic Knight captains who have assembled, and they're going to attempt to fight against Lucifero. And I'm going to tell you guys why I think that this is probably going to be one of the most important fights that we're getting in this current Spade invasion arc that we're having, because Lucifero being manifested in this way, being shown as this unstoppable object who was able to body Asta with no type of difficulty. Lucifero is on the march towards becoming one of the greatest, if not the greatest villain that we've had in Black Clover so far. A lot of this is going to come down to the execution, and I think that the way that you execute a lot of this is you're going to have the booking for Lucifero's title run, if you will. The booking's going to have to be very good. So similar to how in the WWF where you had Stone Cold Steve Austin being booked on a monster run, or you have somebody like Roman Reigns in the WWE currently being booked on a monster run to where he's this unstoppable force who you need people like Brock Lesnar to stand up against him. You need people like Seth Rollins to play the mind games in order to stand up against him. It's the same thing here with Lucifero. You can tell where they're building towards this. They're building towards Lucifero versus Asta, and Asta fighting against the man that he now knows is responsible for Asta's mother dying and the pain that Libe's in, and Asta making a full power up with Libe. You can tell that this is where all that's being built to. However, it's the journey to get us that moment, and I think that the way that this needs to be done is Lucifero is currently staring down all the captains. I think that having these captains engage in battle like this is basically going to be them being served up as jobbers to Lucifero. He's going to drag his dick across a lot of their faces, the same way that I would probably do something similar to Vonica, but it's a different situation here. In my case, it'd be absolute pleasure. In this case, it's just Lucifero being a savage at this point. And I say that to say, I do think there are going to be some really good fights that are taking place here. And I do think we could potentially see some deaths of some of these captains, and that could be something that's used as a way to trigger Libe into saying not again, and it leads into Asta learning the truth about his mother. And I think that that's how you kind of build back up towards this. So the first person, the first captain that essentially we're going to have on Death Watch is going to be Fuegoleon Vermilion. And I think that this is so important because Fuegoleon is a fire magic user, but he also has the fire spirit Salamander. And when it comes to the heavy hitters out of those captains, Fuegoleon is probably, arguably, the strongest captain that's getting ready to fight up against Lucifero right now. You can make the argument about Mereoleona just based off of the fact that she's got that super overpowered ability now to where she's able to increase her battle power the longer that the fight's going on and the longer that fighting spirit is burning. Mereoleona is an absolute savage, and I think that having the Lioness and having Fuegoleon fighting side by side, doing some major damage to Lucifero, or at least attempting to do major damage. They're going all out, they're giving everything that they got, and they're coming up a little bit short. This could be very, very good because it's one of those things where she's very, very talented. Mereoleona has that insane capability to use Monoskin. Is completely off of the charts. You got all of the powers that Fuegoleon's going to have with the Salamander. This would be a good opportunity to see some tag team action. And then when you add in the fact that you could have Yuno jump in as well, you could have Yuno potentially using Star Magic and potentially using the Wind Spirit and fighting in combination with Fuegoleon, who would have the Fire Spirit. That is a great opportunity to see Lucifero just tag team and take them down. And if you want to throw in a situation where Noelle gets involved and Noelle is fighting alongside them, this would be a good way to just book Lucifero as being this immovable object who is dominating everybody that is going there. And Asta having to see somebody like Fuegoleon potentially get killed, That's something that definitely could work right there. And it will be a good way to send off that character just based off of the fact that he would be dying for a purpose greater than himself. I think that that could work. Now, I know Black Clover does have a tendency to say, yeah, we're going to do a false finish and a false death. Right now, Lucifero is so strong, you really can't make that justification for this. Now, another thing I think would be very cool is if you have the situation where Dorothy's also in the situation where she's fighting. Because of how Lucifero's powers work, it'll be very interesting to see how Dorothy is able to even attempt to try and hold her own using that dream magic, and whether or not there is a backfire to her even attempting to use that. I've seen a few people say it would be very interesting if Lucifero was able to trap Dorothy permanently inside of her own dream world. That will be something to where, again, if we see Lucifero pull off some insane stuff like this and essentially Dorothy is trapped in her own dreams, that could be something where you look at it and 10 years from now, when Black Clover is either still ongoing or it's completely finished and wrapped up, we're going to look back at this scene and say, my God, this was a scene that changed everything. I think that Dorothy, I don't know if maybe it's because I'm just a huge fan of the character. I don't know where she ranks in terms of popularity. As you guys know, I just got caught up with Black Clover, so I don't know where she is in the popularity poll. However, I love her, and I know for me personally, if Dorothy got killed off, or if Dorothy was in a situation where she's permanently in that dream world and we never see her interact while she's actually awake again, that would be something that would be very, very heartbreaking for me, because once she started speaking on her own, I fell in love with the character. So I think that that will be something really cool. You also have the situation where William Vengeance, with this last dying breath, is able to use World Tree magic as a way to at least open up the possibility of buying out time to get the other captains and the rest of them out, because you do have Femoral there. Femoral can use a portal to get them out of there. If Lucifero's just shown to be that overpowered, having William Vengeance come full circle and sacrifice himself like this, that'd be something very interesting to see, something like that. The same thing when it comes to Nozel. We saw Nozel where he was fighting alongside Noel against Magicula, and we saw that character development. You could have the situation where he might have to mess around and end up dying in the same way that his mother died when she was fighting against Vonica and when Vonica was using Magicula's power. So that is something potentially you could see Nozel right there. This dude's Mercury magic basically makes this man a whole squad in himself, and it's one of those things where we look at him, this is easily one of, in my opinion, one of the 5 strongest captains. So I would love to see something happen with him. The same thing when it comes to Charlotte. I would love to see Charlotte step up and potentially buy time to get Yami out of there. I think that that would be very cool to see Charlotte have a knockdown, drag him out fight. Even though right now she is completely outclassed, there is something to be said when it comes to fighting for a loved one and seeing that Yami is in a terrible situation right now, as noted by Vanessa, I believe, in the last chapter. Knowing that Yami's life might be in peril, having Charlotte power up at the last second to do some damage to Lucifero to buy time, that's in line with what you see when it comes to shonen power-ups. I mean, I think we got a few opportunities here. I'm not expecting somebody like, I'm not expecting Real to do anything. Real can go jump off of a bridge. The same thing with Jack. Jack can go jump off of a bridge. I don't care for either of those characters. However, for me, I definitely think that Fuegoleon and Marileona, those are the 2 captains that I expect to see the most out of, and potentially Charlotte, depending on how Tabata wants to play with the Yami situation. However, I want to know from you guys, which captains do you have on pack watch? Which Magic Knight captain are you expecting to get packed up by Lucifero? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Have an awesome day, guys.